and welcome to our first children's book tasting video of 2022. I have a new book for you this week called The Elephant's Girl by Celesta Rimington. An elephant never forgets, but Lexington Willow can't remember her past. When she was a toddler, a tornado swept her away from everyone and everything she knew and landed her near an enclosure in the Nebraska Zoo, where an elephant named Nyah protected her from the storm. With no trace of her family, Lex grew up at the zoo with her foster father, Roger, her best friend, Fisher, and the wind whispering in her ear. Now that she's 12, Lex is finally old enough to help with the elephants. But during their first training session, Nyah sends a telepathic image of the woods outside the zoo. Despite the wind's protests, Lex decides to investigate Nyah's message and gets wrapped up in an adventure involving ghosts, lost treasure, and a puzzle that might be the key to finding her family. Can Lex summon the courage to discover who she really is and why the tornado brought her there all those years ago? Alright, as always, I will be reading the first few pages. Chapter 1, The Wind and the Zoo. The wind and I have a complicated relationship. Because of the wind, I'm the girl without a birthday, without a name, without a beginning to my story. See, the wind took my family away when I was small, and I don't remember them or where I came from. I've tried asking the wind for my family back, but it isn't a very good listener. It does most of the talking. It whispers things only I can hear, reminding me that ghosts are real and elephants can speak. But even though I can hear the wind's words, and even though it follows me around and tries to give me advice, the wind can never make up for taking my family away. The way I figure it, the wind owes me big time. At least it left me in a place where I could have a home. Roger Marsh, the zoo's trained engineer, found me in Lexington Zoo after the biggest storm Nebraska had seen for nearly 4 decades. A few things happen when I tell visitors I live in the zoo. First, they laugh a little. It's usually one of those brief, explosive laughs, but after a while they realize I'm not kidding. Then comes the following in its order. 1, they stop laughing. 2, they look at me up and down. 3, time passes like a snail while they consider whether or not I'm a rare breed of monkey. I don't know who my parents are, but I'm definitely not a rare breed of monkey. And despite the Elephant's Girl chant the kids at Lexington Elementary repeated when I used to go there, that's not who I am either. Roger was checking the zoo's train tracks for damage when he found me. He had some help though. He says a ghost saw me wander into the elephant's habitat after the tornado hit the city, and the ghost showed him where to find me. Roger, who clearly believes in ghosts, thinks I might have been 5 when I showed up at the zoo. And since I've lived here for 7 years, we've decided I'm 12. The zoo train is a genuine Union Pacific steam locomotive, so running it is a bigger job than you might think. Sometimes I help Roger in the train shed when he maintains old engine 109. He's taught me about the tools he uses. I even tried to hand him what he needs, although the wrenches used to tighten bolts on a steam train are half as tall as me. I also help Roger by taking tickets, cleaning picnic tables, and sitting in the caboose to give him the train speech. He has a fireman who shovels the coal and fills the boiler, and he has a part-time locomotive crew, but Roger says I give the best train speech. Today is the first day of summer vacation for my friend Fisher though, so I'm going to need the day off. "Hey Roger," I called to him from the staircase, waving my borrowed copy of Islands of Blue Dolphins at him. Roger looks up from his latest book, an oatmeal. He's reading a psychology book at this time, which is weird change for him. Usually he picks history books. He has to shift his chair to see me. The living room between us is taller than it is wide, and Roger's place at the kitchen table is partly hidden behind what used to be a bank teller's counter. The engineer's residence at Lexington Zoo was a county bank in 1907. Roger's eyes widen when he sees the book in my hand. The constant creases across his sustained forehead fold up in deeper lines when he does this, and his teeth flash white when he smiles. "You finished it." "Yep, this was my last assignment for Mrs. Leahy, to finish my 6th grade work. I'm done." Our voices echo in the center of Old County Bank. The zoo paid to have the place fixed up at the house, preserving much of the historical stuff, of course. Roger did a lot of work himself, more since I came to live here, but he couldn't upgrade the Echo out of the place. Just in time too, I say, waving around the teller's counter and plopping into the chair across from Roger. Fisher's vacation starts today. Roger reaches across the table and pats my pale, freckled head with his tan one. His hands are always warm, and he almost always knows what I'm thinking. Ah, yes, he says, elephant training. Spending time with the elephants, one elephant in particular, is a thing that's going to make this summer great. Having a best friend, finally out of school and in the zoo all day with me, is going to make it even better. Yes, Miss Leahy said we're old enough to help this summer, so long as we do it together. And so long as Thomas is there, right? I nod. Thomas O'Connell is the elephant manager. He handles all the training, which keeps the elephants busy and allows Thomas to check their health, especially their feet. The elephants can choose whether or not to come into the training barn, but since they got apples and sweet potatoes for rewards, they all seem to enjoy it. Roger slides a bowl of oatmeal in front of me. I know you're excited, but eat first. I shove a spoonful of grayish-purple oatmeal into my mouth. Roger likes to put blueberries in it, and they dye the whole batch. I suppose you should take some time off from the station then. Do you have enough people today without me, I ask? He smiles and says, I think we can make it work. Roger taps Island of the Blue Dolphins on its corner. Aren't you supposed to write a report about this? Done. I finished it this morning. I can give it to Mrs. Leahy when I go see Fisher. Roger scrapes the last oatmeal from his bowl and takes it to the sink. His overalls rustle when he moves, and his big boots clomp the tile floor. It's a good thing that the old county bank had high ceilings, or Roger might be crowded. Fern and Gordon probably have some chores for Fisher, he says, scrubbing the bowl in the oatmeal pot. So you help him if he does okay? Fern and Gordon Lehi are Fisher's parents. They all live in the zookeeper's residence on a gravel road near the African grasslands. Fisher's dad is in charge of all the zookeepers at the zoo, and that means he's the one who makes sure the animals have the best possible care. So they live in a residence on the property, like Roger and me. Of course, I say, I always help Fisher with his chores. Helping the zookeeper's son with his chores is not exactly what I call work, especially since he's my best friend. Meet me for lunch today, okay? Of course, I say again. I always meet Roger at the Wild Eats Cafe on his noon lunch break. I join him at the sink and fill a large water bottle for each of us. Nebraska is hot in June. Okay, so that was actually the first 2 chapters of The Elephant's Girl. If you are interested in this book, it is available in the children's collection. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week for a new